Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast, Healing Through and After Trauma, a podcast of healing, hope, and growth. And today I'm super excited, to introduce my guest, because my guest came to me as a vision, and I knew as soon as I thought of this person was going to bring the aspect of spirituality, which I really, really want people to understand the power and what it can do to bring us forward. So with that, I would like to introduce Audrey Sheerin. Welcome, Audrey.
Thanks, Sharon. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm delighted that you asked me. Thanks very much, and I hope I can impart some information that people will find useful.
Absolutely. And as I say, the word spirituality came into my head, you were this first person that came into my head, and it's funny because you were wearing the color green when I envisioned it, and here we are today with you wearing the color green. And I suppose I really want to connect into that spirituality with you, because when we met again, it was COVID that kind of brought us together. And like, you just changed the dynamic of everything. You brought that energy, that amazing energy. And I always tell people about energy. I'm always talking about energy, when the universe, when the divine connects us with powerful people, and we can just see the energies in the room here as well, because we're connected on that level, and it's so powerful. But again, like that, just the journey to it, because again, sometimes when we go into spirituality, we've had that journey through trauma, we've had that journey through grief, and we're brought on that path. So with that, tell us a little bit about you, Audrey, and tell us again about your journey, and how did you step into spirituality?
Okay, well, my first experience of spirituality would have been as a teenager. I'm 51 now, so you're talking back in the 1980s in Galway, and I would have always searched for something different. And I remember buying my first crystal, and it was citrine, and that holds a very special place in my heart, citrine. And I still have that crystal, and I carry it in my purse. Wow. Because all crystals, you set an intention with them, but certain crystals, they would expose a different energy to allow certain things to happen or manifest. So this particular crystal, it's widely said that it would promote abundance. Now, abundance, most people think of prosperity when they think of abundance. And of course, as a 16-year-old, that's what I thought of. So into my purse it went. And to this day, I never really have that feeling of lack in my life. I've always felt abundant, and not to the point that I'd be buying designer clothes. I'm not that kind of person. What I'm wearing today is actually from Pennies. So
Pennies, hon.
Like a teenager top, and then I have a €7 green trousers on me. So I'm not an expensive buyer, but abundance to me would mean that feeling of fullness, that feeling of gratefulness. And I've had that since I was young, and I'm naturally that kind of person. And it's just always got me through things in my life. Like everyone, of course, I would worry about things, but I find as I got older, I don't. Now, obviously, if something dramatic happened and I had to knock someone down or something awful like that, obviously then I would be very stressed. But in the normal run of life, I wouldn't stress about the everyday things. So I don't know if that's my personality, or if it's invoking spirituality into my personality and into my life. So that's how I started. And then when I was young, I got into the tarot cards and the angel cards and that kind of area, but I never, went fully into it, that I was reading for people or anything like that. And I don't.
Did you practice it? Was it like a daily practice you did for yourself, or did you kind of train in it?
Oh, I didn't train in it. So as a child, I would have just dabbled in it, and we'd be doing it, and we used to do numerology and all that kind of thing. So there was always a touch of the mystique in my life, and growing up with the clothes I wore, and I used to kind of seek out kind of crystals and unusual things, even in Twice as Nice. I had a path worn down to that shop with my Deb's dress up there.
They're probably on cruises now with you, Audrey.
Pardon?
They're probably now on cruises because with all the money they made out of it.
Oh, probably, yeah, exactly. All the stuff that I bought. But then moving forward into my 20s, I trained as a nurse here in Galway, and I've always wanted to work in the holistic environment, but especially with people that were going through a journey of illness and all that. And I would have brought my spirituality into that job where it fitted. And it's very interesting, because when you're working with people, you know, you need to be able to read a person's situation to know whether you can speak about spirituality or not. And that the world is changing, and the energy and frequency, and you know, the energy and the frequency of this universe, this multiverse, where it's vibrating at a higher level, and it's constantly changing. So the world is ascending, and we are ascending. And some people might choose not to, and they might stay at a certain level, and we'll stay at a different level. So there'll be different trajectories, and you can even feel it now when you're out and about in life. I would see something, and somebody else mightn't see it at all. I would say, God, it's such a fabulous day, and they mightn't see it as a good day. So they're on a different timeline, and that's how I feel in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So yeah, moving on to my 20s, then I went to Dublin and worked in all the hospitals in Dublin. And again, the spirituality came out with people. And I found when I used to do agency nursing on top of my own job to, you know, to earn extra cash or whatever, once you were within the hours, that was okay. And I always found that for some reason, I was always asked to help out with somebody that was passing over. And I found that a real privilege to be there when somebody's passing from this, going home, basically. I mean, they're just taking off one coat and putting back on the other. And I used to find it a great privilege. And I always found that people were very appreciative of the bit of spirituality that I used to bring into it. And then moving on from that, I got married, and I had met my husband when I was 20, and we got married, and I had 3 children, and they are the apple of my eye, and they are fantastic. And that's great. And the spirituality came into my life, or stayed in my life with my children, and they would have that interest in spirituality as well. And it was never pushed on them. It was just something that they saw in the household.
Yeah.
But my husband wouldn't have been typical, like a lot of men wouldn't have been into that. And then 4 years ago, we separated, and I moved to Galway with my children and my ex-husband's consent. So I'm down here now, and the children are very happy and very settled, and they love their kind of country life in Galway. And they had spent a lot of time in Galway growing up anyways, because of my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that brings me then to, we've had some tragedy, and you know, you're wondering how I use spirituality in my life and how it helps with different things. So my brother passed away in 2018 tragically through suicide, and no history of depression, nothing like that. Just went through a difficult patch, and as people I know who are psychiatrists, and my cousin is a psychiatrist as well, and they were telling me it's like getting a branch. You bend that branch, and sometimes the branch will bend forever for somebody and it won't break, but for some people it just bends and snaps. And that is what it's like when somebody doesn't have a history of depression or any other mental illness.
Yeah.
Sadly, that was very, very tough on the family, and
Yeah.
I found that really difficult because my home life was difficult. So therefore I couldn't express myself with grief. So I found it very hard to grieve for Keith. But I found my spirituality really helped, because I knew he wasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
I could connect, talking to him, and he was there, and he was giving me signs. And I truly, and I know it's true because I've had so many experiences. But myself, my mum, my dad, we soldiered on as best we could, and we got through it. And then a year later, my dad passed away in a hospital. He got acutely ill, and he passed away in the hospital. And thankfully, I was there with him, and when he passed, and it was lovely to be able to say to him, you know, just go to the light, and you know, we're giving you our, not that you need it, but we're saying it's your time to go home. And I remember seeing him as he passed over in the distance, like in the room. He turned around, his spirit turned around, and he said something to me. And this wouldn't resonate with a lot of people, because it came from Lord Haw Haw, from the time on the radios. My dad used to work in on Post when he was very young, probably 21, 22, maybe a little bit older. And he used to do the phones back then, and the wire, I don't know what, they used to put calls through to different people.
Yeah.
And he's turned around, he said, toodle-doo, toodle-doo. And that was something to do with, they used to do that in London in the war times. And obviously he was only a baby then, but his grandparents said that to him. And he used to say to me when he'd be leaving the room, when he was alive, even he'd say, oh, toodle-doo, toodle-doo. And that was his little saying. And I think it was something to do with the World War II. And he had a keen interest in history. So when he passed away, I could see his spirit, and the spirit turned to me and said that to me. And I could hear it in my mind's eye, in my ear, like inside. Yeah. And I knew, like, I was so happy for him that he had gone to be with
that peace, that sense of peace, you know, within yourself as well.
Absolutely. And of course we grieved, and I've had my ups and downs. And, you know, as I say to people with my grief and how I would describe it, it's like, it comes in waves. People say to me, oh, did you have a bad day? And I said, no, I never had a bad day. I'd have bad moments in the day, but then a bad day, because I wouldn't have that personality where I would be down for a whole day, or I might have a moment, something would pick me up. I could look out and see a robin, or I could look out and see a rainbow, or even the wind blowing, and I'd say, I'm alive. You know, I'm here, and Keith and Dad are gone nowhere. They're like, yeah, I can feel them around me now. Like, because my dad would have been very much into journalism, and he was a writer as well, and he did a lot of people. So this would be his stage, and
the energy behind you, lovely.
He would be at home in that. And my dad started the year that Keith had passed. Myself, my mum would be very spiritual as well. We brought that spirituality into his life, and he would have always seen us dabbling and talking about it, and he'd let do our thing. But this time he started to really understand it, and he had experiences. And 2 weeks before my dad passed, he saw Keith beside him in a church when they were at a wedding, and he was crying. And my mum was going, God, is he okay? And he turned around and he said to her, Keith is here beside me. And the peace, and it was nearly Keith letting him know that his time was coming. And you know,
absolutely. And I think there's you know, sometimes, you know, and that's the continuous bond, you know, when there's grief and bereavement coaching, it's called the continuous bond. And sometimes it comes quite quickly, and sometimes, you know, it takes a while. Because I remember only probably about maybe 2 years ago, my mom, and I've been into this for a long time, and that's what I say, you know, and it's very good that you mentioned there, you know, just about your husband not being into it, because sometimes we hold back from spirituality if somebody else doesn't believe in it, you know, because, you know, we think that, you know, okay, I'm into this, then everybody has to be into it. No, absolutely not. If you want to keep it sacred to yourself, then keep it sacred to yourself, you know, and we don't have to have everybody on the bandwagon. Like a lot of my family wouldn't have been into it, and again, even for my husband isn't into it, but you know, I just have that innate feeling, like, you know, the feelings that you have. But I remember probably only about 2 years ago, my mom, and you know, Colin's passed now 22 years, and my mom just came to me one day and she just said, Sharon, oh, I had the most beautiful dream of Colin last night, you know. And he said to me, Ma'am, you know, let me go, I'm closer than you'll ever imagine. And that peace that she got, and that's 20 years later. So, you know, for your dad to get it, you know, and before he passed as well, it's such a comfort to know that they find that peace.
Absolutely. Such a comfort. And you know, every our own journey, and we're all here at different stages on our journey. Basically we've all come down for a job to do. We all have a purpose, and you know, that's bringing us to our home. Like, there's a brilliant book by a man called Paddy McMahon, and he's passed away since, but he came into spirituality in his 40s, and the book will kind of tell you if anyone is interested in it. And it's called There Are No Goodbyes. And it's absolutely an amazing book for anyone, if they're interested and if they're ready for it, if they've had a bereavement, or if they are worried about passing over themselves or anything like that. It is the most amazing book to read. Again, I'd never push it on anyone. I'm not sure print at the moment, or if it's, you know, out of print, but he is just an amazing man. And he's written out a book called The Grand Designs, which they're all out of print now. But basically, it was encapsulating the physics, the science side, and also the spiritual side of things, and how things in the world have brought us to here and the here and now. And so I say to people, there's nobody going to save us. We are our own saviors. Everything that we have is within us. And all the knowledge that we came down with, it's in there, and it comes out as we need it. And, we have to be open to that and allow it to flow out of us. And we're all sovereign beings in this universe, and we're here to, experience this. This is the school. Earth is the school of the galactics, Here to
Yeah.
experience.
And again, I suppose with conditionings, and old belief systems, we always look without, we're always looking for the outside to help us, or, there must be something out there for me. There has to be something. But when we go within, that's when we find it. And it's very just what you said there, just to touch on what you said there about, energies and frequencies, and books. So even though his book is out of print, I do firmly believe that when we're ready, the right books will come. So somebody is going to, pick up on this today. Somebody's going to need it. Because it was like for me with the game of life and how to play it.
Yeah.
I read the book. The book came into my life when I was actually gone on honeymoon. Then I remember the day that I was leaving, when we came home to Ireland, I left I definitely didn't leave the book on the plane, because I searched, you've got 2 small kids, you're going to search everything to make sure they haven't even lost a dodie, So I knew I had nothing left on the plane, but the book was gone, completely just disappeared. And I was like, and I couldn't get another print of it. And I was like, oh my God, well, the same print that I had got, but I had attached to the book rather than I had read the whole book on the holiday. Yeah. So it was like, I was looking for the book. I needed the book to change my life. Whereas the book disappeared and I had to go in. Yeah. So it's just amazing. And I do believe, and this is where I just go with that thing for energy, is like when you came into the inner circle, and this is what I'm talking about, vibrations, and I'm talking about the energy behind you, and the energy, when we've tapped in to do this today, the energy that's in the room, and we can see it all as like the foggy energy, the glow behind. And some people won't see that. Yeah. Some people won't see that, and that's okay. And as you said, everybody's on a different journey, and we'll be brought into it if we're brought into it.
Exactly.
At our timing. But when you came into the inner circle, I have to say, and I have to bring this in, because you just, the dynamic of a Thursday night just changed, you're just this vibrant energy, again, through your own traumas and grief, you're always just willing to help, to be there for others. You have that great ability to listen, and then just have the right wordings.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I know that anybody who is, because I think there was 140 something of it at a time, at one time. I just know that everybody, always felt the same thing, whether it was a pair of red boots you came in with, or singing an old song, but again, for you, and you brought a lot of new awareness, even for me, Tim Wilde, and who would be the go-to people that, or do you have a daily plan, or again, like what you say, are you just going inside all the time, deep inside yourself?
Daily plan. So when I get up in the morning, well, obviously the kids and all that, but I would always be grateful for my day and for being alive and well. And I would bring I'd always say that I ask my 4 bodies to come back into me, my spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical bodies to come back to me as one now. That kind of. I would also do meditations, but not every day. I don't stick rigidly to stuff, but I would. Tim Wilde, I find him a beautiful person, and he is he calls himself a practical ascension kind of guide to the practical ascension which is happening in the earth at the moment. And people will notice, they mightn't know what it is, but there's a change in the universe. There's a change in the atmosphere. Things are changing. I mean, even the colors, the plants look brighter. There's more rainbows than I've ever seen in my life. Now, I know it's the
on yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, they're there. They're constantly appearing. I know it's the time of year, and that this time of year there is more rainbows due to the change in the weather and the way that the weather presents itself. But definitely there is something shifting in the universe, and it's shifting in people. And so Tim, and he talks about this in a very general. He is very knowledgeable, but he doesn't push it on you. Now, I would have followed him for a long time, and I have a crystal that I bought from him as well, a Lemurian crystal, and I use a lot of crystals myself, I kind of know when I need to use certain crystals for certain people in my household. I don't practice outside of home. I don't have any qualifications in this. It's all within me.
Yeah.
I
Oh, challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't actually channel because I don't believe in channeling stuff because you don't know what you're receiving. And
Okay.
for myself, I like to just go with what I have inside me. I don't need to rely on anyone else out there, but I do love to learn from Tim and Maya Kaskioff and, you know, different.
Maya's good as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Maya and
Yeah,
different
she's
people.
lovely, yeah.
And, you know, we all have our own opinions about how things are happening in the world at the moment. Personally, myself, I stay away from mainstream media. I don't like to give energy, but I do feel for people, but I don't like to take on the energy of what's happening in the world because I don't think that's healthy, because I do believe giving fear energy is feeding certain groups of people. And I believe that because if you think of a child in the playground that's not being nice to another child, they are getting a buzz out of being mean to that child. So they're getting the sadness from the child, or they're getting the fear. So think of that on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying governments, any particular government, but the way things
Yeah.
happen, when wars, torn, anything like that, this fear that those poor people in different parts of the world are going through at the moment, somebody is gaining from that. Obviously, they have fear that because they're running for their lives and stuff, but
Yeah.
us putting the fear into it as well is not helping. I think I send my love and I send my light to these places, and I do meditations with different groups where we can send positive energy to these places. That's how I feel, rather than going, oh my God, this is terrible. Oh my God. I don't like, and I would try to stay away from that kind of energy. And I'm very good at protecting myself from energy as well, from other people. I wouldn't get drained. You know, the way some people get drained. I find I can protect myself from that. I just can think, and all of a sudden I'm fine. So I could be with very, very sad or depressing people, if you know what I mean, bringing your energy down, but they don't. I my energy high myself. And I say, well, look, I'm not going to drop to their level. If they want to come up to me, they can, but I'm not dropping. So I keep that energy. Now, you cannot constantly be in, like Pollyanna effect, where every world is happy clappy. I don't operate like that either. I'm a very practical person too, and I understand people have trials and tribulations to go through. But I do believe I've had my fair share, because we're not discussing it today, but I've been through so much more than we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
What I'm talking about. And it's been absolutely horrific.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'm so thankful that I'm here as a person and I'm well.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is, we're all presented with different types of situations. It's how we deal with those situations. That's what's going to make the difference. We could sit there and go, oh my God, this is terrible. Like I will say a rotten banana. You could sit there and go, oh my God, what am I going to do with this rotten banana? And just throw it out. No, you can use it for a smoothie. You can make banana bread. There is other options with
There is.
things.
Yeah.
I'm looking at banana here. That's the only reason in front of me.
I was just going to say, have you got a rotten banana in front of you?
No.
Well, they're nice ones.
Nice fresh.
Poor bananas.
But, so I've just given it a hypothetical. People can
And
kind
it's
of.
a good one. It actually is a good analogy as well, because it is true. You know, we can put up a protection. And like, again, like that, if people think, how do I put up a protection, Sharon? You know, it's different ways for different people. Like people say, oh my God, Sharon, do you not be drained, you know, when you're working with all these people and you're listening to this all the time? You know, probably the sadness and the grief. I don't come drained, because I've, again, like that, I've had to, through my own traumas and through, again, my own stuff, I had to, you know, because obviously, you know, with my own suicide attempts, I wasn't going down that path again, because now obviously I've ascended, and, you know, I understand why I needed to be there. We understand why we go through things. But I had to look for a different way. So if I want to still serve people, I had to look at a different way of every day. And not, like you said, it doesn't have to be every day. We're not about Pollyanna every day either, you know. So it doesn't have to be every day, but it is about finding other ways. And this is why I'm doing this podcast as well, because there are other things out there. You know, there are definitely other things out there, you know, that like that. Maybe you have this situation in your life right now, and it does look like that banana, you know, there's nothing else I can do with it. But it is like that when I'm saying, you know, to connect in to people, and what, like we say, the universe is always bringing us stuff. Sometimes we're so much up in our heads that we're not seeing what's around us. Like when you were saying there that you can see, you know, Keith and your dad, you know, we have to come out of the head and not all the time, but sometimes, you know, to feel that,
With the heart,
sink into the heart. Like, are
absolutely.
you, well, I know you are, but I'll put the question out to you anyways. But you're a big believer of the hand. You can show people your green pants as well. So she's the green on for the heart center and a lovely green pants.
Oh, there we go.
Audrey is always one for color. Look at that.
I'm actually practicing for next year's St. Patrick's Day parade in New York. That's a joke.
No,
Yeah,
but
I would
yeah,
be a big believer. So going on the line of, I believe that we are the most beautiful beings in this. I love human beings. I absolutely love human beings. Love animals. Really do. Have a little dog outside. Had a cat that passed away. That was, God, he was like the most beautiful person, or most beautiful animal, I should say. But I love human beings. I have such respect, and I'm in awe of human beings. I think we're an amazing species, and I just have that natural ability that I want to, where I can and where it's appropriate, to help people. So, you know, helping somebody can be just as simple as opening the door for somebody that's homeless, just buying them a sandwich or a cup of tea. And my children have seen that. And it doesn't have to be these big grand gestures. And
no, yeah,
sometimes it's simple things, just saying hello to someone or carrying some
smiling.
shopping. Exactly. Just something very simple, having a chat in the queue. You know, so little things. I just like human contact, but I'm very happy in my own space as well. So I'm not codependent, and I'm not in a relationship, and I'm very content, and you know, I'm very happy not being in a relationship. I'm very happy finding my own journey, and that has it's really opened so many doors and has brought me back to the girl I was before I started the journey of being in a relationship. And that girl was feisty and full of gusto, and that person is coming back, and it's amazing to see. And I'm looking back at my inner,
Watch, yeah.
loving that little girl and saying, wow, you know, she was just a great kid, like, and great fun, and you know, stick up for the underdog. And I was very much like that. Like, no one ever bullied me or anything, thank God. But I was always, I remember sticking up for a guy. They were not very nice to him in school, and they pulled down his pants and all that. And I remember all the boys around him, and I went in and broke it up, and I sorted it out. And I was 10 years of age. And that boy, when he was leaving, because he was moving around because of his dad's job, he came up to me and he said, thank you so much for helping me and sticking up for me. And I said, yeah, well, you got to do it for yourself now. You know, this is what you have to learn, and things like that. But you know, manifestation would be very important. I know people talk about manifestation, and it's a big buzzword at the moment.
Yeah.
But you want something in your life, and you feel that it's going to be good for you, and you really want it. I just visualize it in my head, and I start daydreaming about it and like living it. And I don't know if it's something that I did as a coping mechanism in my 20s, in my situation that I was in. I would manifest certain things, and I would think about them, and I'd kind of live in that little world. No, that's not really. They say what you manifest is you put it out to the universe. You tell the universe exactly, clearly and succinctly what you want, and you put it out there and leave it out there. But I've just been very lucky in one way, but I've manifested and I've worked and I've achieved everything I kind of want to achieve. And yes, I've had all my crappy stuff happen to me. And I feel now I've come to a point where I've dealt with it. Doesn't mean more crappy stuff won't come along, but I'm going to know how to deal with it, because
That's the one thing, you know, people say, you know, oh, because, you know, do you think you're above, like, you know, something else might come in? I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, you know, we're not up here, you know, that something else might come in. But the difference is that we have these tools now. We have these, you know, that inner peace. We can go in there, and we don't know in the moment, because shock, you know, to the chakra systems and shock to the amygdala, you know, we don't know in the moment how we will respond or react. But as that energy kind of flows, and as, you know, whatever the transition happens, you know, we will come back to what we know.
yeah,
Because, yeah,
we have to use, and it's about just, you know, just not letting the fear, because fear is the opposite to love. And the universe vibrates on love.
yeah,
Source vibrates on love. God vibrates on love. Whatever, Allah, whatever you want
whatever
to,
you want, yeah.
yeah, it vibrates on love. And you can see it that if you give out as much, when I say love, I don't mean you go around hugging people and kissing them and all that. You know, but you just give, but just be lovely, kind of feeling good and being happy. And yes, there is people that will trigger you. You're in your car and you're driving along and someone cuts out in front of you and you're like, oh my God. And you have to sit back and say, okay, just forget about it, Audrey. Just leave it. It's, there's nothing, they're not going to know that I'm annoyed now in the car. So just, I'm with all. And there's days I'd be like, you won't believe what someone did today. And I'm like, stop, just forget about it. Like, let it go. They don't know. Or if somebody gets annoyed at you in a shop or whatever, accuses you of skipping the queue or whatever, that they're the one who's angry. So thankfully that's never happened to me, but it's just an example again. But you could have bumped into someone and something like that. I remember I was in Smith's, and I'll give you an example of when Clodagh was small and I didn't have the twins at the time. And I remember I was exchanging a toy that she'd gotten that she wasn't happy with. And there was a man standing in front of me and he stood back on top of me and I put my hands up to kind of to his back. He was a foreign man. He was like Eastern European, and he turned around and he shoved me. I got such a fright, and the security had to come over, and I was crying. But I looked back and I said, "That man." So I was like, "What did you do to me? Oh my God, why?" I said, "Why did you do this to me?" And he was like, just looking at me, and I said to him, "Okay, there's a few different issues going on here." When I stood back and I remember thinking about it and talking to my parents, and I said, "That man," I was really upset, like I felt because he stood back behind, not knowing I was behind him, and stood back, and he was a big man, and I thought he was going to hit me. So I put my hand on his back just to kind of say, "Oh, there was someone behind me," so I couldn't go behind. I couldn't step back because I was a patient. I said, I was a nurse. There was a person behind me, so I had to kind of like let him know that there's someone behind you. And he turned around and he pushed me, and I said to myself, like the other person behind me had to grab me because I was falling back. And I said, "Okay." I was really upset at the time, really angry, and I couldn't get it on my head. And I was like, I felt like calling the police. And I was like, oh. Then I said to myself, okay, this man, I said, he's come from Eastern Europe. God knows he was conscripted into the army. God knows what he's seen. So somebody at his back might have been a trigger for him. And he just reacted. I thought either he had a mental illness or something like that. So I said, okay, I forgive this man. But it took a few days before I could actually, I was traumatized because I've never had someone do that to me in a public place. But one experience I always think. So I learned from that to say, okay, that's their stuff. It's not me. It's their stuff. I have to, block it out and leave it there and try not let the ego take over, because our ego to protect us, and it comes into everything. I'm going to mind you, nothing's going to happen to you. I'm here. Sometimes you have to say to the ego, it's okay, ego, thank you. I've got this. I know where I'm at. I know where I'm at. I'm going to deal with this my way. I'm going to let the heart take over, because that's how I'm learning all the time from different incidences, or people can trigger you in a shop, or if they say something, or just don't behave the way you expect them to behave. But that's, you can't expect someone to behave the way you want them because they're not you.
Absolutely. And that's a huge thing, again, and I love what you just said there as well, is that like we're learning all the way, all along. I said it in a podcast there lately, that if somebody tells me, and comes and say, "Oh, Sharon, I don't need any help now anymore, I'm fully healed," to me it's a red flag. I'm like, we're constantly working, we're constantly again being triggered back, because the subconscious mind again wants to keep you safe. And if you heard perceive something before, or something happened like that before, it'll come up to try and keep you safe. It's very much again about how we respond now rather than react. And we can react. I do say to people, because people say, oh, they might say, "Oh, Sharon, look at, I reacted to this." No, that's okay, because you're aware of it. You've come to me and you said, "I've reacted." So that's, you've caught the space, you've caught the thought between the space. So you've given you've given your mind space to say, that maybe I should have done it a different way. And now you have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the amazing thing. And it's like that with the hot piece of coal. And you said it there when you were in the car. Like, we were like, "Oh my God, that person just pulled out me." That person's gone along singing, Jesus, I don't know what else. They're like singing, da, 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 "I didn't even see that person." Yeah. And we're there holding the hot piece of coal, expecting them to burn. And the only person that puts lowers the vibration. And again, when we talk about vibration, like that incident in the car, if it's just that, initial reaction of, and we go for 20 minutes till we get into work or whatever, that initial reaction isn't going to dip the vibration. It's if we stay in it.
Absolutely.
Stay in it. That's the thing.
And that's why I always say, like, just don't kind of, I'd be quite, like I'd be quite hard on myself. I'd be, expecting kind of things to be perfect for myself. I don't mean the way around, but I'm talking about
Yeah, yeah,
if I was doing something I didn't do to my standard, I'd be annoyed at myself. But if
yeah.
somebody else did it and they didn't do it to my standard, I wouldn't be annoyed at them. I just say, oh, look, that's grand. Sure, look, I would just tidy it up myself. So it's funny. I'd be quite tough on myself, and I've learned to go gentle on myself. Go gentle. Be a little bit more gentle. And I think the spirituality has helped me through that as well. And you know, just living on that lovely positive vibe, because people come into this house here and I have a lot of crystals around, and I ask the crystals sometimes to pull back their energy for me. I have like tons of big, small, loads of different types, and I ask them to pull back their energy. Sometimes I ask them to do that. If there's people coming in or whatever, I say, just pull back on
Brilliant.
other people. But I just find people love the energy in the house because they love that lovely light feeling of kind of happiness and my kids are in this and they vibrate at that level now. And yes, they might be kind of having little fights and stuff, for a minute or two. That's sibling rivalry. It's all part of development. But
That wasn't there, Audrey. I don't know. I'd be moving into your house too.
but I must say we all kind of, and my mum as well, and she's out in a
Yeah,
different,
that is beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, she's in her own house behind me here, but we all kind of work together. It reminds me, if you watch flies flying around, they go in a square, a lot of them, and that's what they're doing is they're marking their territory, kind of, and assessing their territory. Usually the males do that, but I'm a budding entomologist. But you notice that if they interact at any stage, they have a little scuffle and they disappear, and then they have their own little sections that they go in. And that's the way we're all living our lives. That, even with my mom, we come in and we do something, and she might be doing something that I wouldn't do it that way. And two of us kind of just might kind of fluff our feathers a tiny bit, and then we settle down again. And that's how we all live our lives. And we're the same at work as well. When you're working with people, you have to allow for adjustment. And that's what spirituality has taught me, that it's not a rigid road for anybody. And there's this new age spirituality that says you can't get angry, you can't do this. That's wrong. I mean, we have the anger about something, like the anger about my other situations, my divorce, my brother's death, my dad's death. The anger has come up. I've dealt with it. That's it. But there's days where I can say, oh my God, or I should say minutes in the day that I go, why, oh why, oh why did Keith have to pass away? Why did that? That's part of life. And the spirituality, as you pointed out, Sharon, it's not staying in that energy and being, and you said a customer came into you and a client, being aware of it and taking note of it. And that's the development, and that's the spiritual enlightenment that we are constantly attaining to. Do you know what I mean? So
that's what for me, for my clients, I do always say, and it's the hardest thing actually, when I tell people when they're leaving my clinic, I say, look, I'm here to support you, send a message, because I get up at 5 and I send out the energy for anybody who needs it or anybody who's going to text me. But it's really funny because I'll say, because obviously energy works and it's fantastic and hypnotherapy works, but like that, we've got these environments, we've got work conditions, we've got this, we've got that. I say, I always tell people, if something comes up, because they leave the clinic and they're like, oh, Jesus, I'm out in airy fairyland, like it's brilliant. But of course, obviously stuff comes in, and other different vibrations come in. But I always say to them, let the energy go. If something comes up, I never say if something comes back. I always say if something comes up, try and deal with it yourself. Like, because I give the gratitude and I give, a wellness plan. I say use the wellness plan. But if it stays there for over 24 hours and it filters into the next day, text me.
Yeah.
Text me, because then it's like that thing of, okay, I've tried to do this by myself. And sometimes, again, like that, sometimes we can try, but sometimes we just need that extra support.
Yeah.
We just need that extra support. And I'm like, just text me. And you know what the biggest thing is? People will come back probably, because the energy usually runs for about 12 to 16 weeks. 16 weeks. Oh my God, Sharon. Oh my God. This happened 3 days after. I said, yeah, but you didn't text me. We're very, and I won't use the word bad, but we're not great at receiving.
Yeah, or asking for help.
Asking for help. So asking for help is receiving. So if I have to ask somebody for help or support, I have to be able to receive that on a level. Whereas people say, oh, but I didn't want to be bothering you, Sharon, you're so busy. I'm like, yeah, but I told you to text me.
Yeah.
It's the receiving part of it. It's the receiving part of it that, we have to open ourselves. And that again goes back to the heart.
Yeah.
It goes back to the heart and the unconditional love. And I loved when you said there a minute ago, about you and your energy, and being hard on yourself. It comes back to spirituality brings that unconditional love. It
Well,
brings
self,
self-love.
we cannot ascend until we love ourselves. And I
Absolutely.
don't mean like, oh, I'm so gorgeous. I
Yeah.
don't mean love. Well, obviously that's nice to be able to look and be happy, but it's inner, deep inner loving of yourself, of that soul, because the soul is you. You are your soul. That is you. That's source. We're all
100%.
of source. People think, oh, God is over there and he's this mysterious person. No, we are all God. I believe that's my theory. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
then we are all a fraction of source. So as made in the likeness of God, and we won't go down the religious route now because we all have different.
But it's all like again like that. It's whoever, like, so as I said, I think it was this one. I said some people are going to like be so into angels and love Archangel Michael, and some people are into Buddhism. You know, it's a high vibration. It's a
Yes.
source. Whatever you're attaching to.
I don't believe in worshipping. I do not believe in worship.
Yeah, that's a different thing altogether.
Pardon?
That's worshiping is a different thing altogether, because you're putting
No,
all of it. And look at it, even if we hear the word worship, we worship something outside of ourselves.
we should be worshiping ourselves. This is what it's us.
Yeah.
But I like worship is a man-made, it's the 3D, the whatever you want to call the elite, the Illuminati, all that's the man-made worship. Kneel down. No, I don't believe in any of that. And I know that the God that created the universe, the source, they don't want that worship. It doesn't want that worship. So nobody's a guru. We are our own gurus. That's what
Absolutely.
guru. And it's just to allow that time, that space to come in. And not everyone can sit and meditate for 40 minutes. And I believe, one day you could do it, the next you can't. I believe walking meditation, going out in nature and just seeing, even if you're not into animals or into insects or birds, and not everybody is into insects or things like that, like, and I get that, but just to smell the air and walk on the ground and be bring yourself back to earth and just feel yourself connecting with the universe, because that's where we've come from. And we're all part of the stars, as they say, like, it's all in us. The whole universe is us. We're all made up of one, so we're one consciousness in a nice way. And I just think connecting and grounding doesn't have to be this big ritualistic thing. It can be just going out in nature. Even if you took off your shoes or getting into the sea, even if you don't swim, just standing in the water for a minute. Nobody is this, like, sea swimmer, and that's okay. That doesn't make you any less or any better. And I just really like to iterate that to people, that everybody has their own way of dealing with how they want to connect with certain areas. Some people say they're not into nature at all, and that's okay. They might like looking up at the sky. They might like looking at the stars. That's nature. So there's so many ways to connect. But I do believe if you watch animals, and especially wild animals, take the domesticated animals away for a minute, but if you watch a wild animal and how they operate in the world, and they just listen to their bodies and they follow their bodily instincts and how they live their lives. And humans would have done that. And I'm not saying we're going back to the caves and all that, but we just need to make it a little bit more simple for us, because all this clutter and noise that comes in from the outside material world can be so draining on us as spiritually draining, emotionally and physically and mentally draining. And like social media, the TikTok, getting down that TikTok rabbit hole of what you could be looking at. Oh my God, you could be hours on it.
Yeah. And then it nearly defines you. There's nearly a definition when we're looking at it all the time. Look, don't get me wrong, I do them myself. Like, I'm just looking at sometimes myself. So Facebook says, you've been on now 5 hours, Sharon.
It's a thing.
But it is that thing of, when you are so comfortable in your own skin, and it isn't about, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm this, I'm that. It's just when you're comfortable in your own skin, to know that, and I'm always saying it to my girls as well, like, that, whatever is on the other side, whatever you're watching on the other side doesn't define you. I don't need to be this. I don't need to be that. I don't need to be the other. But sure, look at our way. We could talk about everything forever. I could stay on with you for an hour, for 2 hours. So what we'll do is, if there is just one thing that you could give our listeners, or just something like, a leaving part, for them to maybe ponder, from them maybe to come aware, because I know, and this is probably, people will be like, where do I get Audrey? So Audrey doesn't practice. Audrey doesn't, unfortunately. So Audrey doesn't practice. Audrey is just who she is, beautiful being, very, very high vibrational. again, as she said, a work in progress, like all of us. But if you have one thing, or just a nugget for the listeners, what would it be?
Well, that's just what I'd say to him. I am you and you are me. So we're no different. And what I have is I've chosen this, but I did like it's come, if you allow it to come in, but inside of you, that's where it all is. It's within you. That pure divine essence is within you. It's not up there in the sky waiting for you to call it down. It's within you. It just has to be unlocked. And just when you look at yourself, I don't mean in the mirror, but look at yourself as a person. You're a divine person. You mightn't feel like it every day. You mightn't feel like it every minute, but we're divine people. And it's been conditioned to not feel that way, to always be getting on that 9 to 5 working thing, but and just being like a workhorse for our lives. And we've all done it. But just to know that we all, what I'm talking about and Sharon's talking about, we are all capable of it. We're all our own healers. And anyone that heals somebody that says, I'm the healer, that's not true. You are the healer. We are just the facilitators of this healing. That's my belief. Somebody else might say, no, I
No,
heal
and
people.
it's the truth, because nobody else, people can be, and I always say, like, I'm the vessel. People like, oh, thanks for healing me, Sharon. I'm like, you healed yourself.
Yeah,
I'm the vessel.
vibration. It's all about frequencies, like listening to a radio. I like Lyric FM, I like Galway FM. You might like a rock station, or you might like a chat show or whatever. They're all on different frequencies, and to tap in with our loved ones, they're on a level frequency. And it's when we have that little fleeting visit of that frequency, that's when we can, hear. That's when we can see. Everybody has different. It's not everybody sees, not everybody hears. People have a knowing. There's no right or wrong way with spirituality, and there's no elitism with spirituality. And I really want to impart that, because a lot of people out on the internet now are like maybe proclaiming that they are the experts in this, that, and the other. No, they just have the knowledge before you have, and they're just imparting it to you, but it's in you. It just hasn't awoken yet. So think of yourself as a beautiful butterfly ready to open up. And if you want the path of spirituality, that's fine. If you don't, if you can stay in a high vibration. Lots of people are not into spirituality. You meet some older men out there, and you just know that they're happy and they are on a good vibration. That doesn't mean they're doing charity work, but you just know that they're living on a high vibration for themselves. They mightn't be going around with crystals in their pockets, but they are on that vibration, or crystals in their
In
bra.
the bras at nighttime, and they all fall out the floor.
But just just be good to yourself, be gentle to yourself. And I know you might be sitting there going, oh God, she's full of
No,
nonsense.
absolutely not. It's, and that's why I brought you on, because I do believe, it's like anything, and I think we've got an opportunity now with the internet and podcasts and all of these things. We've got an opportunity, to reach a wider audience, to like, and it's not about, none of it's about sales. Like you're not even into, you're not even, practicing. So it's not about, and I know that anybody else who came on who does practice, it's not about that. It's about getting that we can reach a larger amount of, like, so when Colin passed away, and obviously we, as well with Keith, there was not a lot of stuff there for us. There was not a lot of awareness there for us, especially for me 20 years ago. Like, there might have been counseling, but like nobody even understood that at that time, even when we talk about psychotherapy, people are so scared of it. When we talk about hypnotherapy, people are so scared that they're going to be, quacking like a duck. Like, there's such a fear around all of these things, but like there's so much out there. So it is again about, bringing that awareness and that belief, because there is somebody out there who needs to hear this today. And I believed it as soon as it came in and you flashed in my mind. I said, that's it. I know. I think I kind of pulled you up for the next day, but like, but again, and there are people out there who need to hear this today, and whatever level it is, whether they, like, a lady actually came to me the other day and she said, Sharon, you know how long it took me to get to you? She says, 4 years. She says, 4 years I'm watching your page. And she said, I'm only here today. And I said, well, you know what?
I wasn't
There you
ready.
go. I said, today is the right day. It's the right timing.
We're all at different stages. There's no wrong. We're all at different stages. And some people that go through grief, they do it themselves, and that's their choice, and it works for them. So what for you might not works. Just, I think, just in this universe, just think of the, as I said, think of the flies and the way they might bang into each other, but they go off about their own journeys. Let's just do that, like, not like get entangled in each other's problems. Do you know what I mean?
Keep dropping the coal. That's what I could say. Keep dropping the coal. When
Yeah,
you get that thing of, yeah, drop it. Drop it.
Drop it.
Yeah.
Don't get tangled. If you're like the fly and you bang into somebody, I don't mean physically bang into them, but you're getting into step. You don't need in their energy. Like, flies will separate. I always have to bring insects into my conversations. I just love them. But especially those are the house flies that do that square dance, you know. So yeah, so just think of them, or think of the way
I'll have to bring you on for that, Audrey.
Pardon?
I'll have to bring you on for to talk about the flies.
Can you imagine? You'd have no customers or nobody listening. You don't want that.
You'd have a course on flies. Okay, Audrey, look at. Thank you so much. Like I'm so grateful. I really am, and I just knew it was going to be a high vibration. You know, even with the colors and everything going on, I just knew it was. And I really do hope, you know, that. And again, if you've any questions, I can always pop them on to Audrey, anyways. You know, because I know people are going to be enlightened. I know people are going to, you know, kind of, you know, might have some questions. If you do, then, you know, I can pop them onto Audrey anyways and pop them back. So thank you so much. Big love to everybody in the house.
I will. Thank you. And once people know that I'm not this perfect person, I am far from it. I've had my crap. I've been through so much crappy stuff, and still I'm sure there's more crappy stuff to come. It's just how I've learned to deal with it, and I just kind of found that within myself. Really, I didn't do any courses or anything like that. It just within myself. So I just kind of found it by digging in deep into myself. There has to be some way of sorting this out. I can't keep going like this. So that's how I did it. I just want people to know that it's not this, oh my God, I got just, you know, bought a degree on the internet. You know, it's not like that.
And sometimes again, it's like that. People just say, you know, people say to me all the time, oh my God, you've got a gift. The gift is going within. That's the only way you're going to find it. And everybody has it. Everybody, every single person has this. You know, it's not a gift. It's not something you learn. Yes, you can learn all the time, you know, and bring stuff with you, but it's that inner piece that you start to find, and that's the gift. That is the gift in itself. And then you'll always, like you coming on here, we'll always go then, whatever level, whether it's to teach, whether it's to train, whether it's to, you know, just empower like you've just done, we'll always be brought on that path. So Audrey, thank you so much. Big love to everybody.
Thank you for giving me this time to talk to you guys, and I hope I've helped. So yeah, so there you go. Well, listen, no bother, and listen, mind yourself, and we chat soon.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks a million, Audrey. Bye.
Yeah,
We can just stay there for 2 seconds, and I'm just going to finish off this podcast. So thank you so much to Audrey. As I say, for anybody who would like, or anybody who's got any questions, I can pass them on to Audrey. Just one thing before I jump off. So the podcast is changing a little bit. The podcast is changing to monthly. So it's going to be the first Wednesday of every month, just because things are busy at the minute. The clinic is quite busy, and people are busy, you know, with their families and stuff like that. So I will be seeing you from this Audrey's session onwards, podcast onwards. I will be seeing you monthly. So I'll see you on the first Wednesday of December. So thank you so much, everybody. Again, massive thank you to Audrey, and blessings and love going out to everybody for the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.